how CNN is still on air is absolutely mind-blowing to me because, like, this is Cap News Network, okay? Everything they say is just straight lies and hogwash, all right? They must be on life support at this point. I mean, honestly. And as far as Kaitlan Collins goes, can you spell C-U-N-T, all right? Can't understand normal thinking, but that's another conversation. Yeah, it's just wild to me. Kaitlan Collins, just so ignorant. I mean, seriously, you know, the delusion is just... It just is never ending with this one, all right? Sith Lord Kaitlan Collins, all right? Shout out to Tom Homan here in this clip. He absolutely annihilates her, and I'm here for it, okay? So shout out to the King Squad. You guys are awesome. I appreciate you guys. Thank you to everyone who donates to the channel and keeps me updated in the emails. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let's get into the video.
CNN's Priscilla Alvarez points out in some reporting tonight that some of Trump's deportation plans are Obama-esque. His predecessor, of course, deported nearly 3 million people in his first term compared to the 1.5 million that Trump deported in his first term. The man who served as Obama's ICE director is the same person Trump has tapped to be his border czar. And Tom Homan is my source and joins me tonight. And Mr. Homan, it's great to have you. Thank you for being here on the program tonight, because we are closing in on the inauguration. So when it comes to this major campaign promise, you've been working on that plan. Is the plan done and ready to go at this point?
No, I'm still working on it. I got the general framework written up, and I'm working with other folks on it. But by the time the inauguration happens, the plan will be baked, and we'll be ready to launch the day of the inauguration.
How much of it would you say is done so far? What does that process look like?
Well, look, I'm looking at the number of people that were released in the United States by this administration. I'm looking at how many of aliens have been already deported by the Immigration Court, how many are out on ATD that have orders, how many are currently in detention that have orders, and looking at what the time level of some of the hearings are going to be in certain jurisdictions of the country. How many criminal aliens? We know there's over 700,000 illegal aliens with criminal convictions on the streets of this country. So that'll, of course, be a priority. So I'm looking at a lot of different data sets to figure out where and when and how we're going to do this.
So how many days after Trump is sworn in before this effort to carry out the mass deportations begins? I know you said it starts on day one, but after how many days will we actually start to see that happening?
Day one. Day one will be ICE officers across the country will be out on the streets. Right out of the gate, President's made it clear, and I've made it clear, the priority right out of the gate is public safety threats and national security threats. And there's plenty of them to find, right? I looked at the data under the Biden administration. The deportation of criminal aliens have decreased 74%. So we have all those folks that the Biden administration failed to deport, plus we got this over 10 million encounters on the southern border that they came across. We got a lot of them to look for, too. So the public safety threats are plenty, and it's going to keep us busy.
You worked under President Obama, as I noted. He actually gave you the government's highest civil service award at one point in your time there. As you know, he deported a lot of people. His highest number was just over 400,000 in a year. How many do you expect to deport this time?
I don't know the answer to that question because I'm not in the administration. I mean, we don't have control. I don't know what the budget is. I don't know how many. For instance, I know that ICE is $300 million in the hole right now. We need Congress to give us the money to get this done because I don't know how many resources I have. I don't know how much money I'm going to have to buy beds. I don't know how much money I'm going to have to buy transportation contracts. That's why it's imperative on Congress in reconciliation to give us money we need to do this. I think the mandate given by the American people from the election is they want this done. A majority of Americans think it's the right thing to do. A vast majority of Americans think public safety threats that are here illegally should be removed. So it all depends on the funding I get from the Hill.
So you haven't gotten any briefings from people at the Department of Homeland Security right now to tell you what that looks like as far as the number of ICE agents or the number of beds available to you?
No, I know the current number of beds available. I know how many agents are out there right now, but I'm looking, we need many more detention beds what are currently available. I mean, on the Trump administration, we had over 55,000 people in detention in any given day, and they're down to less than 30,000 now. So I know there's a certain amount of beds that are available, but we're going to need many more beds. The landing teams have just started working with the agencies and departments, so we'll be gathering information, a lot of information next couple of weeks, which will help me in my planning process.
How many more beds do you think you'll need?
We need at least 100,000 beds, and because those beds would turn over within 30 days, which gives us a free bed every day. But I'm not going to put a limit on it. I'm talking the minimum we need 100,000 beds because we got a big population to look for, and you know, 700,000 criminals alone.
And ICE has about 6,000 deportation officers nationwide. Tell me if that number is different than the numbers that I looked into. How many more deportation officers do you believe that you would need for what you want to carry out here?
Look, the bottom line is the more I got, the more I can do. So it's just over 6,000 ERO officers. Well, let's remember you got over 8,000 HSI officers who are also ICE officers who also have Title 8 authority, immigration authority. We're looking for help from other agencies. We're looking for help, and I've been clear on this. I'd like to see DOD assist us. DOD has assisted just about every presidential administration. So DOD could be a force multiplier. Men and women of ICE that carry a badge and gun that are doing administrative duties like processing and transportation and infrastructure building. If we can get DOD to help us, that frees those badge and guns up to get to the street to arrest the bad guys. So it all depends what I have available day one, and we're working on that now.
And will you ask the military for planes to help with those flights as well?
Absolutely. I'll ask them for help in transportation on ground and in the air. They have a lot of planes. And, I think this is, I think what's happened on our southern border in the last 4 years is the biggest national security vulnerability this country's seen. Even the FBI director agrees with that. So I think DOD has a perfect role in protecting national security. Now, they're not going to be out arresting people, but they can be a force multiplier and doing things that we need them to do that doesn't require a badge and a gun.
Okay, you say they won't be out arresting people. That's an important point. On this effort overall, in terms of what you believe you need, and you're obviously deeply familiar with how this works and what's ahead of you, you had previously said about $86 billion was the minimum this project will cost. Do you have a better estimate now as you've been developing your plan?
I never said 86 billion. That was a CNN reporter that said 86 billion. I don't know what that number is right now. Again, we're working on the plan. Again, it depends on how many resources I have and what the cost is going to be. But I'll say this. 86 billion. I mean, what price you put on the young women that have been murdered and raped in this country? What price you put on, the lives of all these little girls that, there's numerous cases. What price you put on national security? Because we know a record number of people on terrorist watch that's been called on the southern border. We also know there's over 2.2 million gotaways. How many of them came from countries sponsoring terror? What price you put on the thousands of angel moms and dads who their children were buried by their parents because their children were killed by someone that's not supposed to be here? There's a lot of cost back. But let me say this. This will be an expensive operation, but in the long run, it'd be a huge tax savings on American people, because right now they're spending billions of dollars on free airline tickets, free hotel rooms, free medical care. Not talking about our education system, our trauma and hospitals, and that's in perpetuity. And that's in perpetuity.
Well, and to be clear.
Shout out to Tom Homan. I mean, seriously, this guy is such a straightforward individual. Really an excellent pick by Trump. Drop down below in the comments what you guys think of Tom Homan. And as always, I really appreciate hearing and seeing what you guys have to say. I personally believe that Tom Homan is straightforward. He knows exactly what he's doing. He comes in with a plan. He's just a straight shot. I mean, he's a straight shooter. Like, he just knows what it is, okay? He's addressing everything as he sees it, okay? He's not sitting here making up stuff and ignoring the issues and, kind of dancing around, the situations. No, he's like, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. This is when we're going to do it. Okay, this is the problem. And, this is exactly what this country needs after, while as we transition out of the Biden's version of America, okay? Biden and everyone he's appointed, it's just been a giant mess. All right. It's been a giant mess. So to see, this common sense wave that we have with the Trump administration is definitely just an extreme breath of fresh air. And why I also want to know, why is she trying to interrupt him as he's, spitting this fire here, as Jedi Tom Homan is spitting straight fire and she's over here interrupting him. I mean, personally, I also see that as her being a bad host at that. But that's my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. As always, smash that like button, hit subscribe. Let's continue on with the video.
I understand you'll be making that argument about why you need this money to Congress. I was just curious how much you're guessing it'll cost, because obviously, as you noted, it's going to be expensive. You're going to have to ask Congress for that money. I believe you had told Fox Business $86 billion was the estimate.
$86 billion at a minimum, I said. That's a minimum.
Okay, I was just quoting you. I just want to make sure that we're clear that I was quoting you correctly on what the baseline of that was. But I think
you were quoting me directly. You were quoting me directly. There was also a question that was asked by a CNN reporter.
Okay, got it. Yeah, obviously this is a huge interest. It's a huge interest to people just in terms of how much it'll cost. But on the numbers, I am curious what your target is, because there are different estimates of how many undocumented immigrants are in the country and you have said everyone is on the table. If it's 11 million people and what that number looks like, what is your goal over the 4 years of the total number of people that you would like to? If you have the number of beds that you would like, if you have the number of ICE deportation officers and others that can help you with that, what is your ultimate number of that deportation that you would like to see when you're done with your job?
I don't have a number. We want to arrest as many people as we can. They're in the country illegally. Again, based on prioritization. We want to arrest every criminal, every gang member that's here illegally. That's a public safety threat. We want to arrest every fugitive, those who had due process at great taxpayer expense and have an ordered deportation but didn't leave and became a fugitive. We got over 1.5 million of those. And look, we got millions of people here illegally. I've said that if you're here illegally, you're not off the table. I mean, it's a violation of law. It's a crime to enter this country illegally. And after we give you
but
due
you don't have a
process,
number that you'd like to see.
An immigration judge.
1 year from tonight, you don't have a number that you'd like to say, this many people have been deported on my watch.
No, I don't have a number. I want to arrest as many people as we can with the resources we have. Want to be the most efficient we can based on prioritization. There's no limit.
Yeah, I completely agree with Tom Homan there. You know, even with seeing this current situation that's taking place at the time of this recording, around this time period, with the immigrant who lit the lady on fire on a train in New York. I believe it was New York. I'm like, what the heck? Like, what? You got to be kidding me. You know, this stuff could have been avoided. All right. And, you know, it's like Biden just doesn't care about America. Okay, I really do believe that the Democrats were trying to replace us, the hardworking Americans that make this country great, that put the work in. The Democrats were definitely trying to replace us with these immigrants, okay, to get their votes by giving them all these benefits and letting them across the border illegally and giving them all these rights and everything like that, and the ability to bear arms without being a U.S. citizen and also their kind of nonsense. You know, I just. The Democrats in power is just, it's dangerous, you know, and their version of America has severely just damaged us, like seriously. It's just been atrocious, quite frankly. So like I stated previously, to hear Tom Homan come in and have a plan and to be straightforward and to address the issues at hand, you know, and say he wants to address these issues with the immigration and everything like that, and with everything regarding the mass deportation on day one, it really is a breath of fresh air. Okay, I just have to say I am so thankful that, you know, Trump got in office. I mean, seriously, we couldn't handle another 4 years of the Democrats version of America. Okay, we just couldn't have done it. So let's continue on with the video. Shout out to the King Squad, the King Squad family, the King Squad elites. You guys are awesome. You guys are the bomb.com, and don't let anybody tell you any different.
We are back now with President-elect Donald Trump's pick for his border czar, Tom Homan. And Mr. Homan, welcome back. Thank you for being here. You just talked about who you were going to be targeting initially when you take office. You talked about people who are a public safety threat or a national security threat. And you said that everyone, though, is on the table if they are here in the country illegally. As you know, there's a lot of mixed status households in the United States. Do you plan to take both parents into custody if there are minor children in the house?
If you're in the country illegally and you got order of deportation, we're going to arrest you, we're going to detain you, we're going to remove you. If they have a U.S. citizen child, if they chose after they come to the country illegally and chose after been ordered removed to have a U.S. citizen child and think, okay, the court order doesn't mean anything anymore, the removal order doesn't mean anything anymore, then what kind of message we send to the whole world? Go ahead and cross the border illegally, which is a crime, ignore a judge's order of deportation, but have a baby, and you're fine. If we do that, then shut down the immigration court because the orders don't mean anything anymore, and take the border patrol off the border. We can't send a message to the whole world that you can violate laws of this country and not leave as required by judge and have a U.S. citizen child. You're okay. That child can stay. They can stay with a relative. They can stay with the other parent, or they can take them with them. We don't deport U.S. citizens, but they put themselves in the position. We didn't.
Would the kids go, if both parents, though, are deported, would you put the children in foster care if there's not a relative? Child Protective Services, what does that look like?
I just want to interject right there and say that the Democrats are clearly trying to create more confusion and contradictions within the country with the immigrants breeding right there. I mean, in my personal opinion, I really think that, you know, they're trying to plant the seed of their future voters, because I personally see it as the Democrat Party is just falling apart completely. Okay, you have a lot of people that left the Democrat Party and have turned from it and saw them for who they truly are, and so they need a fresh batch of idiots to vote for them. That's kind of how it strikes me. I personally see it's like really planting the seed for America's future criminals at that as well. You know, because you don't know who's crossing the border, and the Democrats don't give a crap. They're just, you know, they just like, hey, we'll give you X, Y, and Z. We'll give you our resources, our American resources. Just vote blue no matter who, okay? All right, everybody's on the same page? All right, good. Like, what? You know, that's dangerous. That is absolutely dangerous. So this is why I stated that the Democrats being in charge has been an absolute cluster F. And I'm just, daily just thanking God that, Biden is on his way out. Seriously. Okay. Ku Klux Kamala Harris, Jurassic Joe, Sleepy Joe, bye, done. Kamala Harris, ho is, okay. This hoe is leaving. Let me stop. It's like, nah, I'm just kidding. Let's go. Am I?
Well, that's up to the parent. I call that parenting 101. It's up to the parent what they want to do. That's their child. But the bottom line is having a child in this country does not make you immune from our laws. If that's the message we send to the rest of the world, you're never going to solve the best rough courses.
What would you be asking ICE agents to do in that scenario?
To arrest and deport people who are ordered to remove by a federal judge. That's what they're going to do. The parents can make the decision on their child. That's their decision.
So when you argued recently about, when you were asked about family separation, you said families can be deported together. That's how you would avoid that. I mean, you're saying that U.S. citizen, that U.S. born child would have the choice to either go with their parents or to stay here in the United States without their parents.
That's a decision of the parents. And again, we can't send a message to the whole world that you can circumvent our laws by simply having a U.S. citizen child when you know you're illegally. They made that decision. They put their families in that position, not us. We're going to force the laws enacted by Congress and signed by the president. If people don't like the laws, they can certainly have the laws changed by Congress. But we're going to do what the American people want us to do, enforce the laws enacted by Congress and what Congress funds us to do.
And obviously, this could be a reality that you are facing in just a few weeks or a few months from now. The other question that I've heard so much about this is the massive impact that these large removals could have on the construction or agriculture or hospitality industry. Is that something that you're keeping in mind as you're making these plans?
Yeah, that'd be part of the prioritization. But let's remember, it's illegal to hire an illegal alien, employ illegal alien, because there are a number of reasons. Undercuts wages. People hire an illegal alien for a couple of reasons. Number one, they can work them harder, pay them less, and undercut their competition who has U.S. citizen employees. It's against the law to hire an illegal alien, and we'll be enforcing that law too, because worksite enforcement is coming back. Where do I find most victims of trafficking? Sex trafficking and forced labor at work sites. And this administration stopped that. So if we're serious about human trafficking, both forced labor and forced sex trafficking, that's where we find the victims. That's where we save the victims. So worksite enforcement is coming back in a big way.
Yeah, the worksite raids. And of course, I mean, you've seen in areas like Wisconsin, dairy farms have a lot of undocumented immigrants on their property who are working there. So that was a big question for them. The other question I had for you is that the president-elect said recently that he believes still, not a new position for him, but he believes that birthright citizenship must end. Obviously, that is no easy feat, given it is enshrined in the Constitution. But will he or anyone in his orbit direct immigration officials to stop giving out documents like passports or Social Security cards to babies who are born on U.S. soil, to parents who aren't documented?
Look, I think that's up to the courts. I think it needs to be held by the Supreme Court. I kind of disagree with you. I don't think it's enshrined in the Constitution at all, not the way I read it. But then again, I'm not a constitutional scholar. We'll let the courts decide that on the birthright citizenship. I'll say this. It's a major driver, a major magnet for illegal migration. And under this administration, you got a record number of illegal aliens have dying crossing the border. You got a record number of Americans dying from fentanyl coming across that border. You got a 600% increase in sex trafficking. So we got to stop these magnets. We got to stop rewarding illegal behavior, because that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, of course, it's the 14th Amendment, as you know. I do have a question on what this looks like, because one thing I've heard you say repeatedly is mass deportations doesn't mean tanks going down streets or huge sweeping raids. I think of what a lot of people might have in mind. You said
I just want to stop right there, because, the Democrats like to play, like, it's kind of like they love to play with the imagination right there, okay? It's the same thing they did with Trump. Orange man bad. It's the little mustache man reincarnated. Great googly moogly. We got to stop him. Somebody get on the roof, get a rifle. And then they, next thing you know, there's attempts on Trump's life. So the Democrats are notorious for that right there, okay? They're thinking, they're over here saying, oh, Trump wants to have tanks rolling down the street, and they're going to pull people out and put them in focus camps, and they're going to turn your local Walmart into a camp and delete people and AK-47s and what? I mean, seriously. I'm sure they have a much more detailed plan, rather than something as, I'm going to just say demanding as that. I'll use that word right there. Okay. But it's important to just address that, because the way the Democrats will phrase it will have you kind of like going through Alice in Wonderland, the way they talk. All right, and you'll be lost and think that Trump is like he's a dictator. Like what? No, he's not. I mean, seriously, they are absolutely notorious for that.
Idea of building concentration camps is, quote, ridiculous. We have heard other people talk about large staging facilities. Stephen Miller, for example, who you'll be working with on this and what this looks like when it's carried out. Do you have any red lines of where you do not want to go to carry out the pledge to deport mass amounts of people?
Look, this operation, me and Steve Miller, there was no daylight between me and Steve Miller. He was the architect of some of the most significant, successful border policies in the history of this nation. President Trump had unprecedented success during his first administration. But look, we're going to build detention facilities because, again, this is a massive deportation operation. Let me explain why it's a massive deportation operation. Millions of people enter this country illegally, claiming asylum. Secretary Mayorkas has said under oath numerous times, for those who don't qualify for asylum, they'd be immediately moved. Of course, he didn't do it, so we're going to do it. But people need to understand, the people come to the border to claim asylum. Based on immigration court data last decade, 9 out of 10, nearly 9 out of 10 people claim asylum will get an order removal. So when they lose that case, we'll give them the due process. They can make an asylum claim. We'll take them to a judge. But when the judge says they're leaving, they have to leave, because if we don't, like I said, then what the hell are we doing? Just shut down immigration court. It doesn't mean anything more, and take the border patrol off the border because there's no consequences. We're going to enforce the law, and to do that, we're going to have teams out throughout the country arresting these targets. We got to build detention facilities to hold these people, so we're going to remove them. But there will be a well-targeted enforcement operation.
Well-targeted enforcement operation, and you said that starts on day one that Trump takes office. I do want.
I'm glad he has a plan. I mean, seriously. Now, if it gets to that point where they would have to have like tanks and stuff like that, I mean, listen, do what you got to do. But I'm just ultimately glad that they have a plan of action, because there needs to be a plan of action in place for the chaos that is happening on our land, with the immigrants. So really glad to hear that. And I really love how straightforward Tom Homan is. I really appreciate that. Let's get back into the video.
I want to just revisit, though.
Drop down below in the comments what you guys think. What are your thoughts on Tom Homan's delivery, what he's saying, and the overall interview? Let's go.
If you want to carry out this mass deportation and you want to start it on day one, just about a little over a month from now, but you don't have a target number in mind, how does that, can you explain how that works to me?
Bach? That's chicken balk right there. That's chicken balk. I think she's trying to lead Tom Homan into a trap and create a clip and then sabotage the whole operation. That's kind of what my thoughts are when I see that. I mean, this is what I mean when I say the ignorance, but I digress. Let's get back into the video.
The target number is arresting as many people as we can possibly arrest with the resources I have. So, for instance, I've already discussed, we had over 700,000 illegal aliens in this country with a criminal conviction. They're priority one. These criminal gangs like Tren de Agua and MS-13, they're a priority. National security threats, they're a priority. So the goal is for ICE officers and other agencies who's going to assist them to arrest as many targeted priority aliens as possible. Here's the problem, though. In sanctuary cities, we can't arrest a criminal in the jail because they won't let us in the jail. So that forces us to go to the neighborhood, which means instead of one agent arresting a bad guy in the jail, we got to send a whole team to the neighborhood. And what happens there? We're going to find others that are non-priority criminals. But guess what? They're going to be arrested too, because immigration officers aren't going to be told to walk away from somebody here illegally like this Biden administration has done. So sanctuary city is going to get exactly what they don't want. You don't want to arrest a bad guy in the safety and security of the jail. Okay, put ICE officers at great risk to go in the community to arrest this person who has access to what weapons, and they're going to end up arresting more collateral arrests because they have forces in the community.
That 700,000 number, are you confident that you'll be able to deport all of those people?
That's my goal.
But are you confident you'll be able to complete that goal?
I'm confident in the men and women of ICE. They're very good at this, and we're going to arrest as many criminals and gang members as we can find. If we can't find them tomorrow, we'll find them the next day. This operation isn't going to stop. We got 4 years to do this operation, and we'll continue our focus on those with public safety threats, national security threats, then fugitives, than the rest of the people who are not off the table. If you're in the country legally, you got a problem. And I would ask people, if you're in the country legally, you don't have a deportation order yet, then leave voluntarily, because if we have to be forced to issue a deportation, the court actually gives a deportation order, and we have to formally remove you. That puts a bar, a 5 to 20-year bar. You can't re-enter the country. You can't re-enter the country on a visitor visa, a tourist visa. You can have a U.S. citizen petition for you. The smart thing to do, if you haven't got a removal order in the country legally, is leave on your own. That saves a lot of hurt and a lot of harm.
There you have it. There you have it. All right. Absolutely love this interview with Tom Homan. Shout out to Tom Homan. And absolutely just love seeing common sense back in charge. I mean, seriously, it is extremely refreshing. It's not like who is the president, you know, who runs what, when are they doing this, that, and the third. You know, it's like, okay, this is what it is. This is the issue. This is how we plan to address it. All right. It's straightforward. And I really appreciate that. Okay. You know, for a while, I can, speaking for myself, it was like, who's even in charge with the Biden-Harris administration? It was like, what is going on? Who's in charge? Where is Biden at? Why is Biden there? Okay, what is Biden doing? Okay, the Biden crime family. You know, how does Biden get away with this? Okay, I'm asking all these questions, and then it's like, why? And then you're sitting here wondering, okay, what the heck is going on? Like, why is it like nothing is getting accomplished, and why are other people's lives who are non-American citizens, their lives getting better and our lives are getting just significantly worse? I mean, like, what is going on? And then you have the immigrant issue, and it's like, what the heck? Like, what the actual heck, Biden? I mean, you're out here giving the American dream to non-Americans. I mean, what's wrong with you? Like, seriously. what is wrong with you? But anywho, I'm just glad that, you know, this stuff is getting cleaned up, and it's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be overnight. It's not going to just be like, it's not going to be like that. Okay. It's not going to be in a Thanos snap. It's going to take time. Okay. And we're here for it. And, I have to say, I'm looking forward to the next 4 years. I really am. With the Trump-Vance administration, definitely looking forward to the next 4 years. And I'm also looking forward to seeing Vance be president as well. All right. He definitely has a great head on his shoulders as well. And yeah, that's that. I'm really impressed with the MAGA Avengers. Shout out to the Trump administration and all that. Shout out to the King Squad, the King Squad family, and the King Squad elites. You guys are the bomb.com. I appreciate you. Thank you to everyone who left a positive comment. Your comments go a long way. I appreciate you very much. And you guys are appreciated and welcome here. All that great stuff. And thank you to everyone who smashed the like button and all that great stuff. Everyone who donated, keeps me updated in the emails. I appreciate you. And let me know what you guys think about this interview, okay? What are your thoughts regarding the mass deportation? I really am curious to see what you guys have to say. And that's all for that. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.